Then call 9520-RES or go to zeroresminnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. Again, don't wait. Book your appointment today. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res. With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, a slight chance of rain and storms with a low of 67. Another chance of rain and storms on Friday with a high of 87. 30 Bales is a celebration of the best of everything Midwestern cuisine has to offer. Located on the corner of Main Street and 11th Avenue in Hopkins with plenty of free parking. More at 30bales.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You're absolutely right, Jaga. This portion of the show is supported by Minnesota 350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
And we love fighting for climate justice here on Native Roots Radio and doing all those kind of good things. Hey, today's kind of a special show. We're going to mix it up a little bit here. And we have a couple guests from MnDOT, and we want to talk about a couple things like jobs, infrastructure, and things like that. But I'm going to turn it over to Adrien first and introduce yourself. And really appreciate you two spending some time with us today and talking about what you do and how we can support you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much, Robert and Haley, for inviting us to Native Roots tonight. I'm happy to be here. I'm Adrien Carretero. I work with MnDOT, the Office of Tribal Affairs specifically, and I'm originally from France, and I have the privilege to work with tribal nations in Minnesota.
That's exciting. And then Angela, introduce yourself. What did you do here, and what's going on here? I'm trying to get you in the big screen.
Yeah. Hi, Robert and Haley, and special hello to all relatives and listeners today. I'm grateful to be here. So my name is Angel Staples. I can talk a little bit about where I'm from and where I was born and raised. So I'm a MnDOT employee, first of all, so I'm here representing MnDOT. But I should talk a little bit about my background. So I was born and raised in the Twin Cities, and I am a member of the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. I'm a highway bridge engineer, and I work for the Minnesota Department of Transportation. I'm also co-chair of the MnDOT Indigenous Employee Resource Group. So where I'm from, Robert, I know you have ties to Harding High School in St. Paul's East Side. I actually graduated from Johnson High School. Go Governors. And this might give away my age a little, but I really relish the fact that when I was in high school, the high school mascot was none other than Snoopy from the Peanuts gang. Today, I think the mascot is a white guy of a certain age who wears a monocle, a governor of sorts, who looks a lot like Colonel Sanders. So it's all good. It's just fun historical fact. And I went to college at the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities, so go Gophers, another adorable mascot. Anyway, I started working for the state as a student worker during college. While working as a student worker, I discovered the MnDOT Graduate Engineer Program, where I rotated through different offices within the agency to gain experience and knowledge. And because I had such a strong interest in structural engineering, I chose the bridge office as my home base and returned to work there at the end of my rotations through the program. Since then, I've worked my way up the ranks, and I'm currently working as a principal engineer in the Bridge Asset Management Unit, where I do a little bit of crystal ball work, doing forecasting, problem solving, and risk assessments to strategize the timing of bridge investments in order to maximize the useful service life of bridges. But I'm also involved as a co-chair of the MnDOT Indigenous Employee Resource Group. It is a small commitment to a larger cause. The IERG, whose members are MnDOT employees who identify as members of First Nations of the Americas, and their allies who also work as MnDOT employees. The group works to build, connect, and inspire the Indigenous workforce in state government. And we aim to do community outreach, professional development, and we are committed to recruiting and retaining the most qualified workers within Indigenous communities across Minnesota. And so very often we try to get out into the Native community and host a booth at various job fairs or college career fairs where we know we find our target market. At these events, we try to answer questions, dispel myths about the agency and working for the agency, and assist qualified job seekers with navigating the job search and application process. So that's kind of my story. So
Wow, that's
Adrien,
exciting.
yeah.
That's exciting, and I just wanna say that I went to Central High School in the '70s, so go Minutemen.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Hey, Adrian, so, what do you think of that? I think that's, awesome, and what a great story, and someone that can mentor and a great story to get involved, because we all know if you get a job with the state and MnDOT, you're I don't wanna say taken care of, but it's a great career opportunity, and it sounds like there's different venues and things like that to move within MnDOT too.
Absolutely, Robert. I think this is kind of our mission here in coordinating and through consultation with tribal nations is to identify those tribal interests. This is actually a Minnesota statute, 1065, that was passed a few years ago, and mandates all agencies to work with tribal nations on topics of tribal implications. So one of them is access to employment, access to contracting on public contracts, access to trainings. So we look at it pretty holistically, and that's the work we've done with Angel as well with IERG over at Minda to work on what does that look like and work with tribal officials. That's a big mission that is underway, but this is really important in order to try to identify and break down some of those barriers to make sure that everyone has access to earning a living for your family. That's what's important to us.
Yeah, that's, important to all of us. I think one of the things I'd like to do a couple times before we're done is ask you where we can get a hold of you and that information, website, email, and we wanna say that a few times today, before this is over, so people that are driving can pull over and jot this down, or people that are listening, it's very important because this is a great story, but we want a call to action.
Absolutely, and so Angel was mentioning the work, actually in person that we do, but also we have put in place a one-on-one assistance program, and that can be tailored to tribal members that want to apply to some of our jobs here at MnDOT. So we have a recruiter. So I can give you a contact information here. So her name is Lina Garcia, and she's been working really effectively with tribal members. Her email is lina.garcia@state.mn.us, and her phone line is 612-257-2388. That's 612-257-2388. So what we aim at doing is helping on resume building, helping with the application online process, and also offering some interview tips if it's been a while and it happens to everyone to need a little advice on how this is going to take place in a rather unfamiliar environment.
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to talk about, and it sounds like you are talking with college students. And maybe we could even reach out to the high school people, because I know we got post-secondary options, and a lot of people that I've known that I've taught over the years hook up with a job in high school and go through school and come back. So maybe we can talk about that way, one of those ways too. So it's great to be here, and we're going to take a quick break. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, this is Robert Pilot. I taught in St. Paul Public Schools for over 25 years, and I want you to join the team and make a difference in our children's future. Right now, St. Paul Public Schools is offering hiring and retention bonuses up to $10,000 for a variety of teaching and classroom support positions for the next school year. Grow in a supportive and fulfilling public school setting. Limited bonuses are available, so don't delay. Apply at spps.org/careers.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
I always smile that, Dallas Goldtooth was on the show and did that promo for us. And it's a double-edged sword because they're going to be only one last season of Reservation Dogs. So it's kind of fun to listen to, but it's also sad too. And then also with the writer's strike out there, and that's just crazy. But hey, Angel, let's talk a little bit about your path again. Maybe were you interested? What got you interested to be an engineer? I kind of really interested in that.
Good question. So when I was in college, when I first was a freshman in college, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I just knew I was going to follow my interests, follow my heart, and find my own path along the way. And it just so happened that I took quite a bit of math, and I was actually good at math. And so I was encouraged kind of to explore engineering a little bit, since math skills and engineering kind of go hand in hand. And so it worked out good. I got into civil engineering, and I love, making a tangible difference in my community. I mean, I see what I do. So it's been a great experience for me.
I got a maybe a little off subject too, but I know a lot of young women were really good at math, and then at a certain age they got turned off on it. How can we help? And again, this is off topic here. How can we help our young women succeed in math? Because it's really a strange thing as being a college or a high school teacher to see that really really intelligent young women get turned off or something happens. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. And I gotta say, I always remember my high school math teacher. And I was just doing what I was supposed to do, taking, doing the homework, taking the tests and all that. And then one day he said, Angel, stay after class. And I was like, oh gosh, what did I do wrong? But,
Mhm.
and he just gave me some really kind words to say, I acknowledge what you are doing. And, I think it's great that you're doing great work. And just to hear that positive reinforcement, I mean, it can make all the difference. I mean, it was probably like a 5-minute conversation with him. And yeah, I distinctly remember that as being kind of a turning point where I was like, yeah, I'm onto something here. I'm going to keep doing it, what I'm doing, and, keep at it. So, yes, having a mentor of some sort is key. I can't stress that enough. And having, a role model of some sort who shows you where you can go with what you know. So,
And that's what you are here too, and I think words do matter, and that's an important story, really is, and I think I always used to tell new teachers that you're gonna change somebody's life, you just don't know who, and you may never know
yes.
who, and words do
Yeah.
matter, so partially it's pigeonholing, women do certain things, they don't do math, and then people act that way, and then it becomes a reality. Is that kinda what I got out of that story? Is that you got the good
Yes.
part of yeah. It's it's hard, it's difficult because I have a lot of former superstars that things happen to them, and you're a great example of moving forward and mentorship to our young ones, and I just got to say this too before I get to Adrian is that both Haley and I are golfers too. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Ah,
Go
cool.
golfers.
Great.
So Adrian, how can we get the ball rolling? How can we get our listeners and their family and people engaged with MnDOT and in a good way?
Yeah, great question. So I think first is, I mean, Angel, you just mentioned like building that self-confidence and anything we can do through that. That's why we put this one-on-one assistance program together to help with applications, with building a resume, getting access, trying to send applications to make it more tangible and reachable. So building that self-confidence. We also participate to a lot of activities, job fairs, events, and as you mentioned, Robert, we have met at one of those events, so we usually are pretty active. In terms of attending those, of being accessible, and also the um, the indigenous employee group has been just phenomenal in making room, time to be present also in the community. So we work with tribal colleges as one of the avenue. We work with tribal officials, including tribal employment representatives. Try to make sure that we really tailor our approach to the best needs. So that includes a lot of things like having chairs for elders at a certain event that MnDOT may host, or having certain types of food that are diabetic friendly, but also celebrating, showcasing. An example is we did a wonderful event back in White Earth at the tribal college up there, and we had, I think, close to 15 different careers from MnDOT represented. This is
Wow.
beyond the orange trucks that we all see and that are absolutely amazing. I've been told they go first before EMTs, even right in the morning after a snowstorm. And so that's really what we know, what we see of MnDOT. But there are so many other opportunities, including we have drone pilots, we have archaeologists, we have maintenance folks. So they actually have the capacity to go out on the roadway and mow. And if you like something that's less office focused, those careers we are often looking for new people to take care of the roadway. And for that, there are certain times like before the winter and right at the end of winter for the summer construction season. These are big hiring times for those kind of careers. On the top of that, we offer a competitive benefits package. We have sick time, vacation time. I think it is like also 12 paid holidays. And I hope that this, and usually our salaries are pretty competitive at a starting level, instead of going to work for a big firm or supermarket. This kind of sometimes it is a nice career endeavor to start with the state. And also what we want to see through those interactions with tribal officials is to rebuild that trust, the trust with the state.
Yeah. Angel, what is we only got a few more minutes left here, and I'm curious, what is the favorite part of your job? I think
Oh
you kind
gosh.
of slightly on that.
Yeah, I kind of hit on it. So, so I got to say, MnDOT has long been tasked with helping to support the community goals of mobility, accessibility, and economic vitality. I serve this great state. I'm very passionate about all the many facets of civil engineering and structural engineering, and this agency allows me to indulge in it. As a public servant, it can feel so rewarding to have the opportunity to make that tangible difference that I mentioned in my community, and to know I've done a tiny part to keep everyone safe while traveling in whatever mode they choose to take to arrive at a destination. So it's kind of my thing.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you get out of the office much? Do you go check on the gusset plates and all that on bridges, or is it a lot of it
Now and
working
then.
the computer?
Yeah, a lot of it is computer stuff. Like right now, I'm working from home full time, but definitely in order to get out and learn more about the effectiveness of what I do on the computer in the real world is really important. So I do get out on occasion.
Is it a CAD? Is that the program you use, or am I just a dinosaur by asking that?
Yeah, so we have people who specialize in doing CAD work, and then there are people who specialize in crunching numbers too. So
Mhm.
it's kind of all a balance.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of things out there for MnDOT to do, and I'm excited to have you guys on and really, give us a little taste. And I'd love to have you on again too. And just to let you guys know, I'd love to be invited my real job is I am a Ho-Chunk representative here in District 4, which is everywhere but Wisconsin. So to come in and enjoy what you guys are doing for this great state of Minnesota. So I want to say, Peeny Gigi, thanks a lot for being on today.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Right
Yeah, thank
on.
you.
Hey, right on. Well, let's do this again. And thank you so much. MnDOT gets us around, and we need you, and we need people to step up and work for MnDOT too. There's a lot of opportunities. I like that drone pilots and everything in between. So Peeny Gigi, thank you so much, you two, for being on. And up next, I got Robert Lilligren, who's taken over the show because I have to make like a tree and leaf. I have an area meeting to go attend, but we're really excited. Robert's got a guest, and Haley and Robert will be holding it down. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Even though the public COVID-19 emergency might be over, it's still important to stay up to date on vaccinations. And if you're like most people, you probably need a refresher on who should get vaccinated and when. So here's the bottom line. If you're 6 years or older, aim for that one updated COVID-19 vaccine. It doesn't matter if you've had a previous vaccine or not. You're still in the game. Now, if you're 65 or older, you've got the green light for one extra dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Just wait 4 months after your first updated dose, and you're good to go. And for the little ones, children between 6 months and 5 years may need multiple doses, including at least one of the updated vaccines, based on their age and previous doses. Remember, always stay informed and reach out to healthcare professionals for personalized guidance. Didn't catch all of that? You can find all of the updated COVID vaccine information at health.state.mn.us. That's health.state.mn.us.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas will help you get where you want to go. Located in downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality at Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas. Apply today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, it's Tom. Fossil fuels continue to have negative impacts on our environment. Luckily, there are more ways now than ever to use renewable energy in your home or business. All Energy Solar offers smart energy solutions like custom solar paneling, electric vehicle chargers, and energy storage. Solar panel systems can last for decades, meaning you can help the environment and cut back on electric bills for years to come. There are incentives and rebates available to most people who install solar energy, too. Last year, the federal solar tax credit increased to a 30% tax credit. This incentive can be used in combination with other incentives from your utility, county, or city. But don't delay or miss out, as many of these incentives are limited to only a certain number of people. So have a professional from All Energy Solar help you discover how solar can power up your property while saving on your energy costs. Call 800-620-3370 or visit allenergysolar.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, a slight chance of rain and storms with a low of 67. Another chance of rain and storms on Friday with a high of 87. 30 Bales is a celebration of the best of everything Midwestern cuisine has to offer. Located on the corner of Main Street and 11th Avenue in Hopkins with plenty of free parking. More at 30bales.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Native American Community Development Institute in Minneapolis. And speaking of NACDI, which does so many wonderful things for our community, I want to hand the host mic over for the second half of the show to a guest we're grateful to have on every week, NACDI's president and CEO, Robert Lilligren.
Yeah, thanks so much for that kind introduction, Haley, and thanks for promoting our work at Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI, here in South Minneapolis on the American Indian Cultural Corridor, where we focus on the people side of community development, building capacity in the community, within groups and within our staff as well. And speaking of NACDI staff, I am thrilled to welcome as our guest this evening the director of NACDI's All My Relations Art, Angela Two Stars. And Angela has been with NACDI for several years now, and she first started as an exhibiting artist in her first public arts exhibition. She came back to guest curate an incredibly moving show that kind of became a movement called Bring Her Home. And now she's been the director for several years. I think 4 years now, if I'm not mistaken. She'll correct me. And she has just stepped in as not just an incredibly talented and effective Native arts professional, but as an artist herself. And since she has come to the Twin Cities, her career has just taken up as a public artist. And she'll talk a little about that and some of the work that she's done as well, and some of the work that the All My Relations Arts and the gallery are doing on the American Indian Cultural Corridor. So welcome, Angela.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for the invitation to be on the show tonight.
Thank you for accepting. And even though I'm technically Angela's boss, I didn't tell her she had to be here. She came here of her own accord, and we're very grateful. So, yeah, so I don't know, do you want to just take a minute, maybe, Angela, and talk about some of your own arts activities before we get into the gallery?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I got my start at All My Relations. Like you said, I was my first juried exhibition was at All My Relations in late 2016. And that just opened up opportunities, like kind of moving forward that, so I really know and understand the impact that All My Relations Arts has on artists' professional careers, because I'm a testament to that. I was invited to be part of an artist panel, and around the same time, there was a call for art for the public art at Bide Makaska, which is acknowledging my ancestor, Mahpiawi Chasta. And so I reached out to the staff at All My Relations and said, hey, do you know anybody that's connected to this call? Because that's my ancestor, and I want to know. I wasn't thinking about applying because I wasn't a public artist then. And they reached out to the project manager and invited her to come to the talk that I was going to be part of. So I got to meet her, and then one thing led to another. I applied for that opportunity and I was selected, and it just, kind of was the launching point of my career as a public artist. Since then, I have multiple public works in the Twin Cities. My most well-known commission is with the Walker Art Center. I have a permanent sculpture installed in the Minneapolis Sculpture Garden, and that's called Okchiapi, which is Dakota for help each other. I've done work for the City of Minneapolis, St. Paul Port Authority, the Ordway Center for Performing Arts. I'm in the Wakpa Triennial Art Festival right now. If you see in my background, I have hanging on my wall the artwork that I did for that festival. So that's up until, September?
Great.
So yeah, keeps me busy.
You are a very busy person, and so for folks who are listening from other areas, Angela's first public art commission at Bide Makaska. Bide Makaska is Minneapolis' sort of premier lake. We're called the City of Lakes in Minneapolis, and Bide Makaska is kind of the jewel in the crown. It used to be named after a wretched slave owner, Confederate officer, and there was a huge movement led by the local Dakota community, many of whom consider themselves coming back from exile. They were exiled from the state of Minnesota in the middle of the 19th century after the U.S. Dakota War. And they took over, they organized, and they pushed for the change of the name from this wretched Confederate slave owner to what is now Bide Makaska. It was a huge victory for the local community. And then Angela, who is a direct descendant of the resident and leadership of Bide Makaska, really brought her art that focuses on Dakota language, Dakota symbolism, and it was a huge deal. So thank you, Angela, for being willing to do all that.
Yeah, and it was actually what brought me back home, as my ancestors were those that were exiled, and so for me, it was a homecoming, coming back to Minnesota and reconnecting with the land. So it's been wonderful to be back in my homelands.
I love it, and that theme of sort of reclaiming and returning from exile really permeates a lot of Angela's public art works that are on display throughout the Twin Cities here. So good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and it's just wonderful to see how you take such a thoughtful approach to your work. And at NACDI, we're fortunate. We work with a ton of incredibly talented Native professionals. They are all outstanding in their fields. And I just think Angela is an example of NACDI living its mission and really developing someone along their their career path and their career trajectory. And as Angela can attest, an incredible number of artists, native artists' careers have launched right out of our little gallery.
Right. Yes, we have what is it, like over 20 years of operations as All My Relations Arts Gallery. And the names of those who've come out of our gallery, like Deani Whitehawk, who's a former director, Andrew Carlson, Jim Denmy, Frank Big Bear. There's just a ton of people who have somehow been connected, either working at NACDI or being exhibiting artists, have really got their start in our space. And,
Right.
so they have a very, we just have a long history of supporting Native artists. And it's just wonderful that that support is able to uplift them and their careers.
I agree. It's been so inspiring. And even there's a sort of a next gen. You're kind of the next generation. There's native artists like Marlena Miles and others. Marlena is a former All My Relations Arts Gallery assistant. And it's just got kind of a little magic touch. And it gives not just native people an opportunity to come and see contemporary native art, but non-native people to come and see what contemporary native art looks like. And so we have a great show opening tomorrow. I don't know if you want to say it. Yeah, with an event. And I don't know if you want to say a few words about that.
Yes, so we are hosting a solo exhibition by Laura Youngbird, and it's titled Inde Usagadam, which is Ojibwe for My Heart Hurts. Laura is a Minnesota Chippewa Grand Portage Band member, and she does printmaking, which is really fun for us to be able to feature. It's not often that we have very many Native artists that work in printmaking. And so Laura has about, I want to say like 33 works in the exhibition that are multi-layered, multifaceted monotype prints. And she uses the dress as a metaphor for her work that addresses a wide range of social issues, injustices, and biases. She uses the dress as a layer for meaning that's inspired by pictures of her grandmother. She explores identity or the lack of that's been created by the assimilation policy that was intended to acculturate Native children into the dominant culture. And the symbol of the dress is reminiscent of her mother sewing dresses for her and her sisters and teaching sewing as an act of love. So yeah, we're just really excited to feature her work. And, as a reluctant printmaker is what I call myself, when we brought out Laura's work to start, curating into the space, I understood why printmakers get so giddy about seeing other printmakers' works. And I found myself just getting really excited and want to say, oh, her work just looks so yummy. Like the textures that's created in printmaking, it's just something else. And so I never could understand back in my college days, like why the printmaking peoples were always kind of so like, oh, look at this area right here, but now I get it. Now I get it. And I do consider myself a reluctant printmaker. So
I love it. I love it. I've seen the show being installed. I saw it today. It's almost entirely installed. It looks great. I get what you say, yummy. My word is kind of luscious. There's just so much going on. And Laura's use of the dress, for me, of course, evokes a red dress, which is such a powerful symbol within our cultures and communities. And so it opens tomorrow, right? Folks are invited to an event.
Our opening reception is tomorrow from 6 until 8, and Laura is actually going to be giving an artist talk beginning at 7 p.m.
I love it. I love it. So people who are in the Twin Cities area or nearby, please come down. All My Relations Arts on Franklin Avenue, the American Indian Cultural Corridor, in our distinctive little yellow building, and you'll see some tremendous art. And I think it's so amazing. Our gallery is pretty small, overall, but it has such a huge impact. So I expect a good crowd tomorrow for the opening and for the artist talk.
Yes, I call it small but mighty.
Yes, it is small but mighty. It is. And for local folks or even folks from outside the area, our tiny building houses All My Relations Arts Gallery. It also has Powwow Grounds Coffee Shop, and then our offices are there as well. And Powwow Grounds is quite a meeting place for the local community. And today, because it was our Four Sisters Farmers Market, it was hopping. The market was hopping, the coffee shop was hopping. I don't know, Angela, if you got to
Oh,
spend much time there.
I was there all day, and it's just Thursday is
Great.
just a happening day. There's, we were installing a new show, the market was going on. It's just got this like electricity on Thursdays of so much, just so much going on. It's fun to be part of the community on Thursdays. So you get to see everybody, and it's great.
It's a huge part of community building. We have vendors at our Four Sisters Market. It's grown exponentially through the years. I don't know if this year it's the same way, but last year and the year before it was all women vendors, a lot of Native women vendors, and exclusively, or I think almost 100%, at least women of color vendors. So we're advancing entrepreneurialism in the Native community and communities of color. And like you said, it's a happening scene. It's a place to be. It's where Native people come together to be together and to build community. So stay tuned. There's always more. It's a growing project of NACDI. And if folks can stay with us, Angela is going to talk about some more incredible work she's been doing through All My Relations Arts, developing and empowering Native muralists and also Native authors in some cohort programs she's been leading. So please stay with us.
Yeah, you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Attention, Native American community. We've come a long way in our fight against COVID-19. The emergency declaration may be over, but our responsibility to stay vigilant remains. It is crucial to remember that the virus is still among us, and we must continue to prioritize our health and the well-being of our loved ones and elders. Besides getting vaccinated, let's not forget the basics when we're around people who are still vulnerable to COVID-19. Wear your mask, wash your hands regularly, and take an at-home COVID-19 test if you have any symptoms. We've shown incredible strength and resilience throughout history, and we will triumph over this challenge as well. Let's honor our ancestors by taking care of one another and keeping our communities safe. Together, let's navigate uncertain times with courage and unity. Stay informed, stay safe, and remember that our actions today will shape a brighter future for our Native community. Find more tips on continuing to be safe at health.state.mn.us.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1 U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. Howl! Good one.
Sorry, Andrew, should have prepped you for the howl. There, you could have participated. So I'm Robert Lilligren. I'm the president and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute on the American Indian Cultural Corridor in South Minneapolis. And I'm filling in for Robert for this last half so he can go off and continue to serve the community in another way in his role as a Ho-Chunk legislator. So thank you for this opportunity. And Haley, thanks so much for your help and support and guiding us through this. And And I got to tell you, Angela and Haley, listening to Robert in his public service announcement about COVID, I just had a little flashback to the beginning of the quarantine era, and also the stay-at-home era. And then here in Minneapolis, of course, George Floyd was murdered in May of 2020, and everything changed, and the city
Right.
blew up. Parts of the city were burning. It was very scary. And with Angela Two Star's leadership, Angela Two Star is the director of All My Relations Arts, who's with us tonight. We quickly converted the All My Relations Arts Gallery into a pop-up sort of store, food shelf, grocery store almost, because so many of the food access points in our community had burned and were no longer open to people. And I don't know, Angela, if you ever think about that era, but I feel like now I'm finally kind of dealing with the trauma of that time. And I just remember what an incredible community service that All My Relations Arts did at that time.
Yes, and it kind of comes around full circle. Like just today, Angel Swan, who was the kind of food coordinator of that temporary food shelf that was in the gallery, she has now come to NACDI as the I'm not sure exactly the title, executive administrative assistant. I'm not sure, like, correct me,
Administrative
Robert.
coordinator as well. Yeah, that's close
Thank you.
enough.
Yeah. So, but she was saying she saw one of the ladies today who would come in almost daily to the food shelf, and Angel ran into her today, and the lady like gave her a gift. So it's like that reconnection, that healing of, and just that community of like we were all together then, and like we're still here together now, and that remembering that kind of shared trauma we all endured in that period of time in our neighborhood and in the cities. I think it's interesting that just came up today in the office.
That's very interesting. And it does seem like, at least for my experience, I'm in this era of now finally kind of processing through that. And, every so often I've been participating in some conversations and panels that are touching on that. And I just forget how crazy it was here and how painful it was here at the time. And so it was cool to be able to serve the community in that way. And I'll point out, we weren't just serving Native people, right? We were serving and protecting our non-Native neighbors, our non-Native assets. And that's what community's all about. So it was a big deal. So Angela, in this last section, I was hoping we could talk about maybe some of the capacity that we build in the community. And under your leadership at All My Relations Arts, we've developed this cohort model, both in visual artists and different media, like electronic media or mural making, and also within writers. And we've established cohorts of Native writers, getting Native writers to publishing and things. So I wonder if you could please talk a little about that.
Yeah, so I could share that, once the pandemic hit and the gallery was shuttered, for that period of time, we couldn't emphasize, in-person gallery exhibitions like we typically do. But what that allowed us to do is open up and branch out into partnerships. And so we worked with a number of community partners like Northern Lights MN to do a project called Illuminate the Lock-in Dam. We did a partnership with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and we have a 3-year mural that still is currently installed on Franklin Avenue that addressed the homelessness crisis, especially in 2018 with the Wall of Forgotten Natives. And then we've also partnered with Hennepin Theater Trust for a multi-year cohort model where we've selected 3 artists to work underneath a mentor on different types of highly visible art forms. So the first project, we had a digital cohort where we had 3 artists working with a mentor to learn about digital animation, digital art, and then those works were then displayed on the Clear Channel media billboards throughout the Twin Cities. So it's really amplifying Native truth telling through a visual lens. And this year we've been working with a mural cohort. So after the murder of George Floyd, we saw all of the business windows covered with plywood, and those were taken over by artists, and our city became a kind of like a city of murals for artists using those blank canvases. And so we invested in 3 artists that are working with a mural mentor, and they're not mural artists per se, but it's wonderful to see how they're able to translate their art forms into mural art and be able to see like, oh, you can step outside this box that you think you are as an artist, and you can apply that to other ways of making art. And we have a wonderful mentor named Thomasina Topbear. She's got murals all throughout the Twin Cities, and she's working with these 3 artists. They're actually going to be doing a mural at the newly rebuilt refractory building on Bede-Makaska. So they'll be working on that this summer. So yeah, it's been wonderful to work with that group. It's wonderful to see what we're doing is trying to grow that pool of artists that are working in digital media, trying to grow the pool of artists working in mural art. So that's our partnership.
I love it. And the partnerships have these places where this art is being displayed are some of the most high profile places in Minneapolis. So Angela mentioned the Clear Channel billboards, electronic billboards, but also part of the partnership through the Hennepin Theater Trust was to activate more Native presence on our theater district. In downtown Minneapolis, the Hennepin Avenue is the theater center of Minneapolis, and tens of thousands of people visited through the theater season, maybe hundreds, we should get that number. But it just really exposed a lot of people who wouldn't have the opportunity to see contemporary Native art. And it's very commentary, right? It's very, sometimes maybe a little political, a little sharp, but they got to see it. And now this mural that will be installed, more or less permanently at Bede-Makaska at a new pavilion, the old one burned down, will be seen again by tens of thousands of people throughout the season. So it's really lifting the profile. And then we have our Native writers cohorts, which I just think are amazing.
Yeah, so Diane Wilson, who's like a celebrated Dakota author, approached me kind of right when I first started at NACDI, and she wanted to look for a way to support Native writers. And I am, a huge supporter and lover of books. And prior to coming to NACDI, I worked as a curriculum coordinator for a language immersion school. And one of the lack of resources we had was materials written by Native writers. And so when Diane approached me, I said, yes, sign me up. I'm do what we can to do to help. And so what we did is we applied our model of supporting Native artists to supporting Native writers. And so we had a group of 8 cohort writers who were very committed to a monthly practice, a dedicated writing practice, with the end goal after that, I want to say it was an 18-month period of being close to or have completed a finished manuscript that then could be taken for publication. So we invited editors, publishers, agents, funders, all different ways that we can support these writers. And this current cohort, we have 12. Our applications were way more than we could accommodate, but we'll have 2 readings of that group of those 12 this summer as part of the Waakpa Festival.
So not only do these Native writers get mentorship from professional writers, they create a product that's publishable, they get these opportunities to read their work in public, to really advance their skills as readers, but also the exposure that they need. And it's so important for writers to be able to present their work and to talk about their work. So it's just living the NACDI mission, right, of building that capacity. So it's a joy to work with you, Angela, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, Robert Lilligren, again, President and CEO of NACDI, taking over host for Robert while he steps out. You're listening to Native Roots Radio, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have a good night.
This is why you work so hard to pay the mortgage. Because home is more than 4 walls and a roof. It's that porch swing on a summer evening. It's everybody